Welcome, Leo Virgo Moon sign people, to your Gemini New Moon reading 2018. This is 10th house energy for you. So you are in a very deep, intuitive, rewarding career space, maybe. Maybe you are addressing some issues as they relate to some goals that you have, some aspirations that you have as it relates to your work life. But more specifically, as these readings are designed for people who are going through a dark night of the soul and mama trauma in particular, this would probably point to a Gemini communicative, emotional, earth sign oriented focus on there being some issue related to your birthright. And we have the angels coming right up with that. Birthright, when we're talking about mama trauma, is realizing that we have a spiritual nature of divinity that has a right to happiness, health, and wholeness. Now, there is a thing called karma, which is why we look at your sidereal sign as well. In the Vedic sign of Leo, the nakshatra for this new moon is Rohini, which is about passion, beauty, abundance, fertility. So with regard to accomplishments, goals, achievements, maybe career orientation as it relates to really healing some deep emotional issues, the angels are with you to do that. With mama trauma, there is sabotage. Self-sabotage is one of the telltale signs of MDT. You want to check the links below to learn more about it. And you may be reacting to a situation that you no longer know how to get beyond what could be seen or experienced as a barrier to your success at this time. And the angels are helping you with that. You do feel the angst because you do know that you have a birthright to your health, happiness, and wholeness. And you have that with forgiveness of whatever you feel that may have been done or is being done in your life at this time by you, that's creating the barrier, that's creating the restrictions. We get stuck, in other words, in these holding patterns. And so this new moon is opening up with 10th house energy that is really inviting you to receive the forgiveness that you need to move forward. Many of you have already done that. I'm seeing here with the Yemiya card that you are surrendering to this process. You are acknowledging, you are seeing that it is necessary for you to just let go of the reins at this particular time. Many times with MDT, we will try to control the situation. In fact, it is one of the telltale signs in Al-Anon. We talk about controlling, trying to cure, feeling like we're the cause of the disease. And it's the same with MDT. It's a disease. And so surrendering to that is what, for you, this new moon is enabling you to more clearly see how you've been self-sabotaging, because in your shadow position we have Ishel, and that's self-creation. You are trying to create yourself anew, but someone's in your ear. Maybe it is your mother, maybe it's a sibling, maybe it's an aunt, maybe it is a spouse. It's someone who does not fully appreciate where you're at, and don't feel alone. MDT is a taboo subject for a reason. Mainly, in my view, is because people don't know how to talk about it with love. It's a planetary disorder. It's a family cycle. It's been going on a long time. And humanity is just getting to the point where it has a few of the tools to actually deal with it. And the tools have to do with being able to broach the spiritual with the material realm of who we are. Notice I didn't say realms, plural. So we've had to do a lot of psychological study, a lot of quantum physics work, and that sort of thing to get to the point to actually look at this as a soul contract between two souls to evolve in self-love and spiritual independence. Presently, you're asking yourself why. Some of you are recognizing that you do have the support that you need, that you are being recognized for a gift and ability that you have, but it's not by who you thought it would be. It's not by who you expected it to be based on your MDT programming. We're programmed to, just like all children of any ilk, we're taught how to perceive the world. And with the particular blinders of MDT, we tend to see the world as an unsafe place where there's constant combat, where there's insincerity, disloyalty, the constant fear of failure. And so with those lenses on, it's really hard sometimes to even know what recognition from other people are, to even be able to receive gifts, for example, compliments. So right now, you're in a space of allowing that to occur, of allowance. You're allowing that to occur. You're kind of reflecting on how you have been blocking your blessings, so to speak. And you expect that things won't change at home. You expect things to stay the same. Some of you are holding out. Some of you are holding out in the sense that you have great compassion for your mother, and you might be blaming yourself for the MDT. And so there might be a great deal of compassion, that you're feeling for her, but really what it's translating to in terms of your journey, this new moon, which is about this asserting your birthright and, really kind of communicating your purpose as it relates to what you're here to share with the world, your gifts and your talents that you want to share with the world. What that kind of translates to is kind of being passive about the mother situation. But then again, others are seeing that in order for me to go forward, I'm really going to have to kind of detach from this situation emotionally, if not physically. The dance that you're doing is a dance of victimhood, and we do that. The shame, the guilt of acknowledging MDT is real. Again, why it's a taboo topic. And this is why. There are three things. The victim card is about really wanting other people to understand, I really don't want to break up the family. I just really do need to express myself. I came here in this world to do more than be a victim of MDT. I don't want to cause any problems. Okay? The victim card also has to do with the credibility problem with MDT. We want to explain and explain and explain. Or, again, we go to the other end of the continuum and we don't share anything at all because we don't think we'll be believed. So there's this dance going on that you know that it's time to detach in order for you to move forward, and recognizing that that's going to allow you to receive the support as well as the accolades from your accomplishments that you're seeking. But then there's another part that is really wanting to bring the diseased part of yourself along with you, which includes your family and friends and relationships that perpetuate this pattern. And that's the dance that's going on right now. What's influencing all of this is that you have decided to take initiative on this healing path, which is taking a great deal of courage. You are following your yellow brick road. In doing so, you are willing to sacrifice the old, sacrifice what is no longer of value to you, sacrificing something that is of great value to you, those relationships, those, if not the exact contact with people, the way the relationships were in the past. Sacrificing something of value for something of greater value. Not as much time with them, not as much emotional investment with them. You still talk, but, it's not. And you gradually kind of move and phase the relationship back so that you can get something greater in your life. And so that's what is influencing you most greatly at this time. That is what is making you feel the courage and the urge to establish the boundaries that you need at this time, and to recognize that the codependency that you have is something that you just really have needed to surrender to a higher support from your angels, your guides, and ancestors to live in loving detachment. Living in loving detachment is accepting what is with love, without the charge, without the emotional charge. And that's a practice. You do fully expect yourself to be able to do this. You've got this. You've got this. You expect yourself to honor yourself, and congratulations. That's a very powerful place to be. Letting go of the law of mystery and divine order. This is the position of letting go. And so you have the self-compassion. You have the sense of now connecting to what you need to take you into that place of expressing your gifts, talents, and abilities. And so the law of mystery and divine order is all about that yang symbol of incarnation, soul incarnation, what you came here to do. And so what you came here to do, Leo, Virgo, Moon sign people, is to express a certain gift, talent, or ability. Maybe you're a health professional. Maybe you are someone who cares about other people in just your everyday life. Maybe you are a homemaker. Maybe you are someone who really is responsible for the administrative detail of an organization in a caregiving capacity. Whatever it is that you do, what this card is saying is that it's time to let go of anything that is blocking, restricting your ability to express that. And you're down for it. You're ready to do it. And so this is more of a confirmation that that is what you're doing. You are receiving these intuitive downloads from this new moon quite powerfully based on what Great Mother is saying to you. I mean, you're there. And so Great Mother wants you to realize that whatever doubts that you still have at this particular time, it's because this is all new to you. It's just new. The angels are helping you with this newness. You feel it. You intuitively know that you're on this new path and that you're okay. But because MDT is a conditioned emotional state, it takes time to really find our bearings in a new emotional state where we don't feel alienated and estranged from ourselves. And so you have invited your true intuitive emotional self to shine, and you recognize it. But there may be some doubts because it doesn't line up with what it is you're leaving behind. As a result, in your immediate future, you're going to be given what it is you've been hoping for, but not in the way that you expected. So, what you've been hoping for in terms of this recognition, in terms of this acknowledgement at work, in terms of you acknowledging your own gifts, talents, and abilities and expressing them unbarred, you're going to do that. And you're going to do it in exactly the way that you want, but it will be unexpected how it plays out. The results will be what you want and what you need, again, on an intuitive level. Just like the sea, we don't see what it truly is because all it mostly is what's underneath the surface. And what's underneath the surface is all of this. This is the moon sign reading. And this is how you're really feeling, perhaps. And this is where your true wants and desires are. And that is what Great Mother is saying is going to be manifested. So it may not be how your mind, your mental, your Virgo aspect, so to speak, is expecting it, but more your Leo nature. You may be Virgo in your moon sign as well. You want to check the links below. They're going to be manifested by you embodying a Pele nature. Pele is the Hawaiian volcano goddess who's extremely active at this time. Now, Mars is in Aquarius. And Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which is in Taurus at this time in the Western. Which means that all of this that you're wanting to release to move forward and that you are releasing to move forward is erupting in you a sense of reality that is going to free you from the shackles of restrictions that still remain. You are embodying that. And that might be what's scaring you a little bit, is that you are like if you're old enough to remember the show The Incredible Hulk, you breaking out all of a sudden. So it might be scaring you, scaring other people as well. But you're busting loose. And it's a good thing because you're realizing that you are the determiner of your life. And that's a beautiful thing. The possible outcome with this is the prostitute card. This might bring up in you, because it's so strange and you have been deeply influenced and impacted by some fears related to MDT. It may bring up in you some questions about how you assert yourself, how you interact with people moving forward. Now that you are being recognized and you go to the next level with it, are you going to sell out? Or are you going to continue on the path of honoring yourself and esteeming yourself? Because MDT is a lifelong learning opportunity. It does not end with the acknowledgement of it. It is a soul evolutionary process of self-love and spiritual independence. In other words, it's a very purifying process, like a washing machine that goes through cycles, which is why we work with the lunar cycles with Great Mother energy expressed through the moon, Great Father Sun shining a light, and Sun ruling your soul sign Leo is emphasizing that you could possibly sell out because it could be a little overwhelming for you at this time. Going to the next level might not be where you are at this particular cycle going forward. It might take a little while, like maybe after the total lunar eclipse at the end of July, or when the eclipse season shifts at the beginning of November, or something like that. We're talking about this very powerful energy of releasing the past with that Mars and Aquarius being ruled by Uranus, which is in Taurus. These are early degrees at this time. And so, in other words, it might not be time to really assert that new identity, but it's percolating. It's percolating. And so, if you feel like you need a rest, in other words, sometimes you just want a break. You've been doing obviously a lot of spiritual work and having the self-compassion because you know that you are. You might need that break. And so maintain your self-compassion. If you move forward with holding on with, in other words, addressing MDT, showing up at work, showing up in your relationships, as you move out further afield from the immediate triggers and you notice them in the other parts of your life and you have the courage to deal with that, that card is indicating that you'll be confronted with dealing with your freedom, and that being a lifelong path, spiritual independence. The angels help us with that detachment, don't they? Living and loving detachment, accepting what is without judgment. People are people. MDT is a planetary disorder. Wherever we go, we'll find it. We'll find people affected by it. We'll find people projecting it onto others. It's just that by embarking on the healing path, the yellow brick road here of MDT, we can more easily recognize it and we're more capable of dealing with it and maintaining our emancipation from it. Your final outcome for this lunar cycle, moving up into the full moon and having residual energy into the next new moon, is Adi Shakti. This will all be impacted by your new moon intentions, and this outcome indicates that you've done all that you can do at this particular point. You are in a really composed alignment with this new moon energy. It's really breathtaking. You're going to be downloading so much information about every prayer that you have, about how to move forward, how to communicate what you're feeling in productive ways. You're going to realize those goals and those aspirations. You're very highly motivated to do so. And of course, you're receiving the assistance of the angels. This is a general reading based on the first house, and so the changes that you will likely encounter with this moving forward will have to do with the fact that your Leo Virgo moon sign is actually in another house. That's what the personal readings are for. Please feel free to check into that. Now for the nodal axes extra video, giving you a little bit more explanation about that and how those play into your moon sign readings on greatmotherspeaks.info. But above all and most of all, remember, Great Mother loves you, and I do too.
Okay, a word on the nodes is that they are typically viewed as too ethereal to be grounded in the world, too much of a conceptual aspect of the astrological chart to be really practical and practically interpreted as meaningful in your life now, which is why they are associated with the soul and kind of, okay, we can't really understand that. It's bigger than we are. We're not going to go there. And although that is true, the part that we can go to when we're looking at lunar aspects is that in the North Node or Rahu, we know that that is the evolutionary direction the soul is headed. We know that it is in large part the soul intention for its incarnation this particular lifetime. And knowing that, the sign it's in, the house it's in, and what aspects that house and those planets tell us the nature of the incarnation, what's important to it. Now, bringing that from the ethereal and the conceptual into a grounded interpretation requires us to understand the sentient nature of our physical senses: hearing, seeing, smelling, touching, waking, sleeping state, the state of health, the state of unhealth, etc. Those subtleties of life is what brings the nodal into the practical sphere. For example, all aspects of our nodes always oppose one another. And we know that if your Rahu is in your fourth house, your north node, then the 10th house is where Ketu, or your south node, is. Conceptually, we know that that soul is here to ground itself in the physical realm, specifically domestically, in its home, through property that it owns, to ground itself physically in the world. Now, regardless of the other aspects in the chart, because we're talking about the nodal axes, it's going to have a holographic effect on the entire chart as it relates to its incarnational purpose. Everything is ultimately pointing towards that in their own way, based on other aspects of the chart. But if you could just imagine the yang symbol, the circle with that arrow to the right, finding its ultimate purpose in this earth realm, steering towards it, pointed towards it, and finally incarnating as the physical form of the cosmic calculus that makes up our entire chart, which is our internal wiring kind of laid out, splashed upon the stars and constellations that we can read and interpret. We will see that the north node and the nodal axes in general give us a look into how to ease the internal stresses of that life incarnated purpose. So regardless of what it is, there will always be stresses associated with it, issues of insecurity, self-esteem, and how we are experiencing that incarnational purpose on an individual basis. So with our example with the North Node in the fourth house dealing with domesticity and the mother, there will be challenges associated with the home and the mother. There will be stresses associated with that, because that is the stuff that evolution is made of, that conflict, that yin and that yang purification process that occurs. So just looking at that, we can see that there will be opportunities throughout life to grow and evolve, which can be seen in the chart. To further ground that, we want to look at what your chart is telling you about your health, what your chart is telling you about your career, about your relationships, how you see the world, finances, and spirituality, because it's going to inform the strengths and the challenges associated with that. As we do that, returning back to the subtleties of our waking dreaming state, our clairs, clairvoyance, our clear seeing, our clear feeling and touching, clairsentience, clear audience, those extra sensory abilities. What happens is our unique strengths in those areas are constantly offering us information, tools, and guidance about how to confront, remedy, and transform those challenges and those stresses. So let's say, for example, with the North Node in the fourth house, one of the aspects is to have a sixth house everyday life situation where the sun is there. Or I'm not going to get too deeply into the example because there's so many variations, but let's just say that in your everyday life, you're very focused toward what you want to do. You're very clear about what you want to do, but maybe in your career, there's some conflict for one reason or another. That's going to create a challenge, perhaps, in creating the necessary revenue to get the home that you want to feel grounded, that is going to work for you to feel that domestic grounding. And so with the South Node, or Leo and K2, there's going to be a tremendous tendency to want to fall back on that default, which is what the South Node is, the soul default, the many lifetimes that the soul has had in that particular energy, which is all about accomplishment, success, in career, and that sort of thing. Wanting to fall back into that, even in light of this lifetime, that being a challenge, there being some corners cut, perhaps, or some illegalities, perhaps, as it relates to acquiring the home that you want, or dealing with maternal issues and that sort of thing. So that's how we can ground it a little bit further and look for opportunities with our dreams, with how we are managing our sleeping life, our circadian rhythms. Are they really supporting us in a way that we feel energized enough to fulfill what we need to fulfill, to acquire what we need to acquire to feel grounded? If we need to be a bit more creative than what the present lifestyle is in acquiring a home, do we need to perhaps be a little bit more intuitive with regard to what may be other opportunities to acquire those things? Maybe there are people that are wanting people to do some house sitting around your area, but you really haven't tuned into that. But there may be some intuitive guidance in that area where you could easily do that. The soul is always downloading intuitive information to us, and it is through our sentient voices, feelings, and unctions that we can connect to exactly what it is that we need to fulfill those things. And so that is what we look at in a moon reading as it relates to the nodes. We look at where those strengths could possibly be for you. Some people have more of an ability to hear. They may have clairaudience based on the fifth chakra prevalence of Mercury energy throughout their chart. That kind of thing is what we're looking at in a moon sign reading. That's the perspective that we are able to gain a clearer view into how to use your sensitivities, how to identify them and work with them to fulfill your practical needs that the soul has in this lifetime, for you to feel the balance and the equilibrium that you need within yourself as you deal with this very challenging issue of mama drama trauma.
For more information about Mama Drama Trauma, visit mamadramatrauma.info.